Hello everyone, you may have heard that Russia has invaded Ukraine, calling it a special military operation. So today I've come to the Russian embassy just on the corner of Hyde Park to come and see some of the protest action that's happened. You can see on the wall behind me here it says, "I'm Russian, I'm against the war, hands off Ukraine," and also to talk about some of the comparisons that we might have on the IGCSE history course at school. So let's have a chat to some people, shall we? Hello, nice to meet you. So you've got a sign here which says, I'll just film it, it says "Hands off Ukraine, Putin equals war." So what's brought you out this morning to come and protest outside the Russian embassy?
Hi, I live in London for the last 20 years. Born in Ukraine, half of my life has been there and half of my life has been in Ukraine.
Right.
I have a 12-year-old daughter. She made this picture with her friends.
So your 12-year-old daughter made
Yes,
that? That's very creative, wow.
Yes, she made this picture and we want our voices to be heard. Unfortunately, she cannot come today, but that's why I'm here.
Fantastic.
And I just want to spread the word and, if possible, make peace, not war.
So you can see there's lots of anti-Russian, anti-Putin messages, particularly not necessarily anti-Russian, but things like "I stand with Ukraine," "Ruski voinoi," "Koraba," "Idi nachi." Interesting one here. "Putin equals Hitler." Look at these bloody pictures. There's even a good picture of Putin being compared to Hitler here. So you've come out with this sign that says "Putin out," and people are honking their cars as they pass by. So what's brought you out today to protest against this? You said you're not Ukrainian.
Because it's aggression, and he's killing people in their own country. He's invading a democratic country. What right has he to do that?
Have you got relatives in Ukraine at the moment then?
I do actually.
Right, have you been in touch with them at all?
I have actually. Some of them have been trying to leave Ukraine
Yes.
because of what's going on as well. Thankfully, a few of them managed to escape.
Yeah.
But the rest, we're still trying to help them as well.
Well, I wish you all the best for them, and I hope they're able to escape if they want to.
Thank you.
What do you think are the next steps for Ukraine in an ideal situation? I mean, it would be for Russia to leave, wouldn't it?
Absolutely.
But I mean, what do you think might happen next?
I don't really know what will happen next, but what I do hope is that they do win this war, because if they don't, then Putin will just continue to not just take Ukraine, but other countries as well, to create his ideology of creating the USSR again, but controlling all countries in his hand. And we don't want that. Everybody is allowed for their own independence, their own freedom of speech, and to live how they want to. Nobody should allow them to control them from who they are.
So what comparisons can we make between this invasion then and what you're studying on your IGCSE course? Well, the first one obviously would be with the Cold War. So you've looked at the Hungarian uprising in 1956, the Prague Spring in Czechoslovakia in 1968, both occasions where countries in the Soviet bloc tried to not so much democratise but break away from the communist sphere of influence, the Soviet sphere of influence. And on both occasions were met with a Russian aggressive response, particularly in the first case where Imre Nagy, the leader of Hungary, was tried and executed. The difference, though, between that and Putin's invasion is, of course, that the Soviet Union no longer exists. So the ideology of communism as a uniting force has, in fact, gone, it seems. So the question remains, what ideology is motivating this invasion? Is it something which is driven by just expansion, territorial expansion, aggression against the West, worry that the Western military alliance, NATO, is encroaching closer to Russia's borders? These are things to think about in that regard. The other comparison, of course, with what you study for IGCSE is with the Nazis and with German expansion into the Sudetenland in 1938. This is part of Czechoslovakia, which Hitler argued was German-speaking, had German-speaking people, and therefore needed to be part of the new Third Reich that he was building. Now, this expansion was met by a policy called appeasement in the West, which really allowed Hitler to get away with an awful lot until he was able to annex the whole of Czechoslovakia in 1938, and then finally to invade Poland in 1939, which eventually led to Britain and France declaring war. Now, the contrast here is, of course, that back in 1939, neither Germany, well, they're honking in solidarity with Ukraine there. Back in 1939, countries did not have nuclear weapons. The first atomic bomb was dropped in 1945, and of course this is the key difference, because now when one country invades another and that country has a nuclear weapon, is a nuclear superpower, we're into a whole different ballgame with a war which could take us into a completely different place. We're no longer living in the days of a simple land invasion, horrendous though war was in those times. It would be very different now if war were to break out between two nuclear-equipped superpowers. So while there are comparisons that can be made in history, there is definitely something new here, both in an ideological sense and in a military sense, with the weapons that were available to Russia if this conflict escalates. What I'll do is I'll put some suggested readings. If I had a horn, I'd honk it too, I think, in solidarity with Ukraine at this point. But what I'll do is I'll put some suggested readings down in the description below. You should definitely read more widely on this topic. It's not something that can be easily summarised as I stand and talk to you and talk to the camera in front of the Russian embassy on a crisp and cold February morning. So please do have a read. I'll see you in class, and see you next time for more on Mr. Keith on Location. See you later.